Welcome to the EGC Marketing Podcast. We provide you with the latest digital marketing news, performance marketing tips, and creative problem-solving skills you need to stay resilient in our fast-changing world of marketing.
Welcome, everybody, to the EGC Marketing Edge podcast. My name is Max Ross. Today, I am joined by Chris and Christina, both members of EGC, and we're going to be tackling all things NIL, which means name, image, and likeness. We've seen a lot of student athletes from college universities, in some cases, extreme cases, I should say, even high school, sign these very, very lucrative brand deals, which 4 or 5 years ago would have been not possible at all. And as a result, a lot of brands are really capitalizing on this new, athlete economy, and we've seen a lot of success from it. So we're going to unpack these trends, talk about maybe some successful examples, rather, and really what this means for the industry. So I'll stop talking and pass it along to Chris and Christina.
So we can just get right into it. NIL deals, it is the beginning of so many college sports. So these have been a topic of conversation lately. And we've really noticed that college athletes are like the next wave of influencers. They're really becoming massive in this space. We've all heard of Livy Dunn, we've heard of Shador Sanders, who is the quarterback at Colorado. He's making like 4.7 million in his NIL deals. And then even as far as the University of Florida giving all of their football team Dodge vehicles. So lots to dive into.
It feels like an avalanche from where this was with NIL a few years ago to where we are today. The NCAA video game was a smashing success and brought even more attention to the sport of college football. College football themselves has been never as popular as it's been right now going into this current season, and NIL is a huge part of that. It really is unbelievable when you think of not just the major faces of college sports, whether it's your Alabama quarterback or your college winning left tackle, and those names that we eventually see in the NFL, the wide receiver list goes on and on that we see get drafted. But kind of on a micro level, we're seeing a lot of athletes that may not be NFL material still secure some serious deals with brands and to grow their notoriety and become their own kind of influencer and marketer without actually being part of the 0.001% of those who make it professionally. And this isn't just for football. This expands for all sports. But football, as we head into the 2024-25 college football season, you can't help but notice that a tremendous amount of NIL deals are getting done, and again, for different athletes across many different teams.
Yeah, I guess to echo Chris's point, something that I've started to see emerge is really this pivot from, favoring a team in the younger demographic, and even like, people my age and older, to starting to gravitate towards a particular person on that team. And, we see this in the NBA, like, people are going to follow LeBron James regardless of where he goes. But in terms of high school sports, high school and college sports, that hasn't really, been a thing. And now, of course, this is starting to become more and more prevalent. And even, the way that these younger people are nurturing their communities and growing their communities and even monetizing, it's exposing like a lot of new faces to, follow the college sports and then eventually, follow them to the professional space. So I guess, Christina, a question for you would be, are there any platforms in particular where you see these athletes really growing communities and engaging followers and all that?
Yeah, I mean, it would mainly be TikTok and Instagram. That's where they're all at. They're obviously young, so they're going to target people who are their age, who they can relate to, who are now following college sports. It's pretty cool as like a college student to be able to follow someone your age and to kind of see them as just like a real human. So they're posting a lot of these NIL deals on social. You're seeing it all over their Instagram pages. You're seeing it on their TikToks, and they're incorporating it really well into their feeds. And it's just a very natural fit usually.
Would you argue that maybe the lifetime value of someone that is following a college athlete as a young person is greater because, you're kind of getting into the ground floor And there's just more, not to like view everyone as a dollar amount, but there's more money to be made long term on growing this person, as opposed to signing on with a more established athlete or individual, which again is a more costly proposition in of itself because that person's established and it's just going to be more expensive. You could Is it true that I guess college athletes are potentially more lucrative for brands, and cheaper to sign on?
100%. It's definitely cheaper to get them while they're less popular, get them young, get them as young as possible. I mean, this isn't an NIL athlete by any means, but if you think of Simone Biles and how much she's grown in the past 10, 15 years and who she is now, it's much more expensive to get in with her right now, in a partnership.
It really has turned into a marketplace where you're looking at these athletes and identifying value at different areas in their career. And it's cool to feel like you as a marketer are almost growing with them if you have the right relationship. So obviously there's a whole management perspective that comes into working with any influencer and building out deals because they are in a sense responsible for the brand that you guys are kind of pioneering and moving along together. So that presents its own challenges as the influencers get younger. Perhaps they're, I would say, a little bit more difficult to work with and less experienced than perhaps an older influencer who could be more professional, has more years of experience under their belt. So that's just an additional challenge. But I mean, the potential is absolutely there. And especially if you join, as Christina said, in early on in the partnership, it can really pay off dividends if they become synonymous with the brand that you're positioning them to go alongside with, and both them and the brand can grow to tremendous heights.
Yeah, and I guess just as some general call outs or watch outs, if you will, Christina, when working with any influencer, what are some things that people should consider when really trying to find that relationship between product and person? Because obviously, these younger people, a lot of them have both personalities. They're not necessarily media trained, so I feel like there really needs to be an emphasis on making sure that whatever they're promoting really aligns with that athlete's persona or image.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that you have to make sure that you're partnering with the right person for your product. So it has to make sense, it has to align. And then also, you have to make sure that this is a reputable person. You don't necessarily want to get in and partner with an athlete too early on if you don't know too much about their background and maybe what they might say or not say, what they're posting about currently, if it really aligns with your brand. So just making sure that your product aligns, but also your message aligns as well, and that you have a similar tone of voice and it just is a good marriage.
Rooting for the team, but also rooting for individuals within a team, and perhaps individuals that you don't necessarily grow up with as your hometown team. And this has really prevailed largely because of fantasy betting, number one. So you're getting a lot of individuals plucked from different professional teams, and they create your team as a manager, and you cheer for these different individuals across different teams. And sports betting as well. So taking a prop bet on a certain player, and again, the popularity in sports is only growing marginally in comparison to the popularity of sports betting and the volume of sports bets that's placed around every single game. So it really becomes important, and it brings, I would say, more attention and more eyeballs than usual on the sports teams and the athletes that we see today. So it really does feel, in a sense, like the Wild West when it comes to NIL deals, influencers, sports betting. So the sports media world has always been this powerhouse, and you're seeing that also in the sense that Amazon is now jumping in, Peacock is jumping in. So they're understanding the value of this sports media market. But as consumers and marketers as well, I mean, it really is ripe for not disruption, but it is budding with potential to place brands into partnerships that are valuable for both the athletes and clients who we work with. So it really is a very interesting time, and is something that probably will continue to snowball. I mean, we'll see people and athletes getting more deals, greater deals, the kids who were famous from viral video clips in high school, and they can now monetize that value and put themselves in front of a larger audience and more people than ever before. So it really does require, I would say, some level of expertise to navigate this market, because there's so much to consider, especially for legal implications, which we don't necessarily have to get into on this podcast. But as it kind of expands and grows into not just being more present in college sports, but perhaps even high school sports. I mean, who knows at this rate? So it's definitely a very, very interesting time, and is something to keep an eye on as we kind of continue to look and continue to watch the games as sports fans, marketing fans, media fans alike.
Yeah, I'll definitely second that. When you talk about sports betting, which is, I think it's like a $20 billion industry, like annually, which is insane. Coupled with, all of these new media formats, TikTok, Instagram, and the NIL, topic that we're discussing right now, it is really like the perfect storm. There's just so much activity happening in this space. And as Chris mentioned, the biggest brands in the world are starting to take notice and, invest accordingly. So I do think any industry, any brand should consider to do the same. And with that, we are just about ready to wrap up. But one question that I like to ask before we end these podcasts is, Chris or Christina, either of you can answer this first. But are there any things that we haven't discussed in this field, or even just generally in marketing, that you're excited about?
I will say that it is very interesting to see the intersection of athletics and marketing and video games. What do I mean by that? So a lot of these athletes now, as they become their own sort of beacon for popularity and viewers, they're streaming on Twitch. They're playing video games themselves. Some of them are now in video games at a young age, whether it's the NCAA games or other college sports games. So I will say it's going to be very interesting to see whether a perhaps non-familiar sports market that's primarily a gamer market, or a gamer market, or a sports market that's now getting into more video games like NCAA, how that affects the valuation of brand deals. So on certain platforms like Twitch, that also can be the Wild West when it comes to understanding the value of viewership and partnerships and whatnot. But I will say that's something, as I am a fan of both, that I'm particularly interested in, and seeing just how much that sector grows, because a lot of recreational options and recreational activities that we think about now have serious value and serious influence and reach like never before. So that's something that I'm excited about, and looking into, and just kind of seeing how far this can go.
Yeah, and this is really just the beginning. We have just scratched the surface of NIL deals. It's only been happening the past couple of years. So I'm just excited to see it grow and what it can turn into in the next 5, 10 years.
And with that, we are just about ready to end. Thank you so much to everybody who tunes in. If you like this and you're a fan of what you hear, please do like, share, subscribe. We will be continuing to have great guest speakers like Chris and Christina on our upcoming episodes. So do tune in, and we will see you all again soon. Bye.